Hello. As you know, there are four elements in astrology. The zodiac sign Aries is fire, followed by Taurus, which is earth, followed by Gemini, which is air, followed by Cancer, which is water, and then on to Leo, which is fire again. So we know that there are these four elements. And a lot of ideas in astrology are handed down from ancient times, and the historians have figured out approximately what happened, that in Babylonia there were more than 12 signs, and then gradually they settled on 12 signs of 30 degrees. The details of exactly how the ancient people put this together are not known. We have a very rough idea of the sequence of things. But what we know today is we know why there are four elements. Okay, we actually know why they are there. And the reason that there are four elements is based on something that we can call sacred geometry. We have to give a label to this. And so let's call it sacred geometry, but we know it in detail, not just a vague philosophical and inspired idea, but we know exactly how this happens, and I'm going to explain it to you. It's going to take a little bit of time, so there's going to be a series of videos. I don't know how many it'll require, and I like to keep the videos down to about a half hour or so. So, we'll see how many it takes, but let's start with the first part of this. And I'm going to take some time to explain this because I want you to really get the intuition and feeling of it as well as just the formula, so to speak. So let's build this from the ground up. Why are there four elements in astrology? Well, to appreciate where these four elements come from, let's first get to some fundamentals about astrology. In astrology, we emphasize 12 signs. There aren't 13 signs, 14 signs, 15 signs. Actually, in ancient Babylonia, they started off with more signs. They had, because they related them to the stars, and they thought maybe there were 17. Gradually, they settled on 12, and this became the established doctrine. And in astrology, we often say, as above, so below. So what's going on up in the sky is reflected in our lives. But our lives are not based strictly on 12. So to me, there's a little bit of a curious disconnect there. Why is the sky so strongly 12, but life isn't? And this is our first hint, our first step. By the way, you might see some light is flickering over there. Don't worry about it. Um, so this is our first hint. I'm going to build this from the ground up. So the first intuition that leads to this discovery is to question that maybe some of this ancient heritage of ideas is not 100% complete. Maybe there's more than 12 signs. For some astrologers, this is almost like sacrilege. Like, how dare you challenge, the doctrine? There are 12 signs. Okay, but that's okay. I'm going to challenge things. Question everything. So when we look at nature, it's not based on 12. And it's like a little bit of a meditative exercise. Just think about it. Think about the sunflower here on the left. We now know that the Fibonacci sequence, which I'll talk more about later, is involved. There's actually a kind of mathematics and geometry behind the sunflower that is now understood. And this is not just like woo-woo alternative thinking. This is like, standard fundamental science that we understand. We modern people understand that there's a geometry and a mathematics behind the sunflower. And I'm calling this geometry a sacred geometry. Maybe modern scientists don't like to put the word sacred in there, but we use this term sacred geometry because there's something so beautiful and it underlies the manifest life. And the scientists agree with this. There's this Fibonacci sequence. They like to say, well, it's the most efficient way to do it, and it's just a mathematical formula. I don't know why they like to dry everything out and take the inspiration out of it, but this is so beautiful and fascinating that there's this Fibonacci sequence, and I'll explain later what the Fibonacci sequence is, because believe it or not, the Fibonacci sequence is related to the four elements. Wow. How do you get from that? I'm going to take you through this. It's fascinating. So